Hi guys, you highly welcome back to our YouTube channel. My name is Bukola. This is Eminence Teaches channel. In case you are watching this channel for the first time, please subscribe to support the channel. Thank you very much, and I also appreciate our returning subscribers. Thank you guys for being there. Thank you. I really appreciate you guys. God bless you. Today I'll be sharing with us a tutorial on how to make a lampshade skirt. So here is my pattern paper. 1 inch is for sewing allowance to join the band with the waist. That is the first thing I'll be marking. So after done marking that, the next thing now is to insert my vertical measurement. I will be placing 2 inches above my skirt waist like this. So as you can see, my tape measure is ahead of my waist line. That is my skirt and my band height. So the next thing, I'll be marking my hip line. I'll be marking my hip line here. Then the skirt length is 22 inches. I had 1 inch for sewing allowance. So after done with that, this point will be extending. I'll be extending all these points. Right here. So now my waist circumference measurement there. Plus 1 inch sewing allowance plus 1.5 sewing allowance. I won't be adding that allowance to this place. For the front panel of our skirt, we don't need that. There's no need that for this type of skirts at the front. So now I'll be marking 1/4 of my hip circumference measurement plus sewing allowance. Then that's 1/4 of my hip circumference measurement minus 1 inch. So I'll be marking it at the hemming line of my skirts. Then mind you, you can do more than that or you leave it straight. Depends on. So after done with that, now the next thing now is to insert your tape measure like this. That is inward. Mark 3 inches. You place it on your hip line. Then you mark 3 inches. So I'll be marking my 3 inches right here. Here is it. So now whatever remain here, just place your tape measure and note it. So it remains 7 here. So what I'm going to be doing now, I'll be marking that 7 up here on my waist line. So I've marked that 7 inches. So same thing is going to be done at the hemming line. So at this hemming line too, I'll be marking that 7 inches. Then I will be connecting those points together. After done with that, the next thing to do now is to divide the rest of your skirt parts by 5 into 5. Divide it into 5. Here I have this. So I'll be dividing it into 5. Now, I have divided it into 5. Then the same thing I do here, I have to do it up here on my waistline and hemming line. As you can see, I've divided my 7 inches and I've marked it at the hip line, waistline, and on my hemming line. So the next thing to do now is to connect those points together. Be connecting it with my long railer. So after done connecting these lines together, so then you can label it with number. So that is after numbering it, then you cut it. So I'll be cutting it now. Is what we got. So what I'm going to be doing now is to measure, you know, I marked this place. The first 1 inch is to measure from that 1 inch downward. Whatever I get is going to be what we are using to cut our cone. I have 20 inches. Here is 20 inches. So that 20 inches is what we are going to work with. We are working with 20 inches. So I'll be placing this one aside. I'll be putting it aside. Then in order to cut my cone. For the back panel, I won't be drafting the back panel on the paper. I'll just draft it on my fabric straight. So when I'm done cutting my, here's my pattern paper, just fold it like this. So here is going to be the part we are stitching with our fabric. Then this is the part that will stand out. So now on this part, we need to measure 20 inches. That 20 inches that we measure from our front pattern, just measure it down like this. Then on this side that will stand out, just place your tape measure. Don't remove it from that pointing part. You know? Place your tape measure back like so. That 20 inches minus 6 inches to give us 14. That is 14. So you just, the next thing I'll be placing my ruler like this. So this is what I got. So the next thing now is to cut it out. But there is another method. This first method, this first method can be applied only when you want to use same size for all your cone. You understand? For all your triangles, only if you want to use only one size. But for this tutorial, I'll be using different sizes. So because I'm using different sizes, I'll be cutting another cone. So the triangle that I'll be cutting will not be same size. So if you are using only one size, this one is good for you. You just place this one on your fabric. Now to cut the one we are using for today's tutorial, I'll be marking that 14 inches. Then at this side, I'll be marking 14 inches. I've connected this. For this one, I'll be cutting 2 pieces. 14 inches, 2 pieces here. So the next thing is to cut it out. We are cutting 2 pieces of this on our fabric. Let's put it aside. So equal size. So after done cutting it, after marking my 13 inches like this, my 13 inches, then the next thing you connect it together. We are cutting 2 pieces of this from our fabric. So the next thing now is to cut it out. 13 inches, 2 pieces. It's 2 pieces that we need. Then after done with that, I'll be cutting another one. The next thing I'll be cutting 12 inches. For that 12 inches, just place your tape measure, mark your 12 inches like that. Then you repeat the same thing here. Then you connect the 2 points together. I'm done with that. Then the next thing now is to cut the 11. For the 11 inches now, just place your tape measure like so. Mark your 11 inches ahead, then mark it at this side also. Then the next thing, you connect the 2 points together. But what makes this one different is that we are making 5 pieces of this 11 inches. We are making 5 pieces of this 11 inches. So here now, this is 11 inches with 5 pieces. You know, this we are making 5 pieces of this. The next thing, I will be cutting it out. So I'm done cutting my triangles. The next thing to do now is to place it according to the sizes and cut it on my fabric. Now I'm done cutting my fabric on my. I've done cutting my fabric. So here now I have 5 pieces of my 11 inches. As you can see, this is 5 pieces of my 11 inches triangle. Then I have 2 pieces of my 12 inches triangle. Then I have 2 pieces of my 13 inches triangle. Then I have 2 pieces of my 14 inches triangle. So it's completed now. The next thing to do now is to cut my skirt. Folded into 2 for the back pattern. I've folded it. Then have marked 1.5 inch for my zipper allowance. So after done with that, the next thing now is to insert my vertical measurement. I left 2 inches above like we did for the front panel. So after done with that, here my skirt length, then plus 1 inch for hem allowance. So after done with that, I'll be inserting my horizontal measurement, which I'll be marking here. So here plus that allowance, I added 1 inch for that. So on my hip line, I'll be marking my 1/4 of my hip circumference measurement plus sewing allowance. So on the hemming line, that will be 1/4 of my hip circumference minus 1 plus sewing allowance. So I'm done with that. So the next thing now is to connect those points together like this. I'm done connecting it. The next thing to do now is to draft our darts. Now I told us the front pattern does not have darts, but this one we are going to include our darts. So here now I'll be using 4 inches by 5 inches. So now at the both side, I will be taking 1/2 of an inch at the both side. That is going to be 0.5 at the both side. Then the next thing, I will be connecting it to this point. Just slant your hand towards that point. Then you connect the other side. You have to connect the other side. So after done cutting the both sides, this is going to be our darts. So this 1 inch that we took out of this place now, because we are going to seam this one inside, we have added it back to our sewing allowance. That is the reason you see that the sewing allowance space here is wider than the one at the down part. You see? So the next thing now is, so we have cutting it. The next thing now is to cut the front patterns. You know that front, you have to place it on your fabric. Now this is the fabric to cut the front panel. So what I'm going to be doing now, I will be placing my panels on it like so, but each panel with sewing allowance. You have to add sewing allowance to it. Then if you are making yours, try to label it with number so that there won't be unnecessary mistake when you are placing it back on. So now for the front, for the center front here, I'll be placing number 1. So I'll just use my pin to secure it. That is what I'll be doing. Then at the both side, I'll be leaving 0.5 at the both side to stitch it inside. Then if you know that this one will be stressful for you, you could also as well add 6 inches into your skirt pattern before cutting it into pieces like this. But I don't want to do that. I prefer going with this. That is just another method. So then you take the number 2, then you leave half of an inch at the both side before you cut it, just for sewing allowance. That's 0.5 at the both side is just for sewing allowance. That is how I'll be continue till I got to this side, and same thing will still be applicable to this side, only that I won't be adding any allowance to this side because here we have sewing allowance for this side already. This sewing allowance that we added during drafting our pattern, so it's of no need to add anything to this side. So I'll just cut this side as it is, then add 0.5 to this side, to the front, you know. So now I've secured my patterns or my fabric. You could see, I want to show us before cutting it. I want us to see how it is. Now that I am done cutting, the next thing to do now is that if you observe this front, it is unfold. So I'll be open this place now because it's not supposed to be closed like this. I'll be open this place. So it's going to be our center front. So that is one triangle will be at that center front. So the next thing to do now is to go and iron my gum stain with my patterns. This is my gum stain. I'll be using medium size. Here is medium size. So now let's go ahead and do that. I'll be ironing it with my fabric now. To cut my skirt band, I'll be using this fabric. I'll be folding my fabric into 2 this way. Then I'll be folding it again like this. Inches above plus half inch for sewing allowance. So that is the reason I'm folding it. Then I will connect those points together. So after done connecting the points together, then the next thing I'll be cutting it out. So now the front part of my skirt, then after cutting it, the next thing, divide your waist circumference by 4. my waist circumference by 4 plus sewing allowance. So let me fold it like this. My waist circumference is 8 inches. It's 8 inches. So I'll be marking the 8 inches like for the back band. So now I included zipper allowance. Then the next thing now is to cut it out. Here is the 1 inch for sewing allowance that I added to the front panel. Is already there. So the next thing now is to cut it out. A back part, while this one will be the front part. So I'm done cutting my band. So the next thing now is to go ahead and cut my lining and my gum stay with my triangles and my band. Thanks for watching.